What's up, YouTube and fellow Nightblades? Griffith here. I apologize for my extended absence. I was finishing up school for the semester, and now that that is out of the way, I'm bringing you guys my solo or small group PvP build. So let's jump right into it. First up is the tributes. If you guys have watched any of my previous videos, you know there's nothing new here. 49 into health, that is what I run, and I, obviously work around my gear to get the magic and stamina I need. So let's jump right into the gear then. What I'm running is 5 medium, 2 light, pretty similar to my veteran rank solo build. This basically gives us the weapon crit we need from the medium, and then a little bit of magicka and spell resistance from the 2 light. I'm running a bow and dual daggers as my weapons. Now the big topic here is set bonuses. So there are a lot of set bonuses in this game, and there are several that are really strong for this build. The main one, however, is pretty much unattainable at this point, as it takes somewhere between like 2 to 3 months of researching traits just to unlock it. It is a crafting set bonus. But what that set bonus is Spectre's Eye. What Spectre's Eye does is gives you a 20% chance to dodge for 3 seconds every 6 seconds when using an ability that costs magicka. So this is pretty huge. 20% chance to dodge is a lot, and dodging an attack negates the entirety of its damage. So that's huge. If someone's rearing up for a big attack, and you just happen to have that buff on you at the time, and you dodge it, that whole attack meant nothing. So that is like the biggest set bonus I recommend for this build. And when you can get it in the near future or the distant future, however long it takes you, do get it. It is really strong. And it's going to make you very, very tough to take out, because of all the self-healing that we have as Nightblades and that are, in this build. That 20% dodge chance is gonna increase that survivability even more. Now, the other set bonuses that I recommend in the meantime are the Seducer. This is a 3-piece, reduces the cost of spells by 3% flat. So that's nice. This build is magicka based. We're going to be using a lot of magicka. 3% cost reduction is great. You have Of Shadows. What this set does is allows you to heal for 15% of your max health every 14 seconds when you use an ultimate. Now, because we use Deathstroke as Nightblades quite a lot, and I use it quite a lot in this build as well, that's a huge amount of health. So we already have a ton of self-healing, and now we're talking about adding a 15% maximum health heal every 14 seconds, basically. Because you could probably use your Deathstroke 2 or 3 times inside of 14 seconds, because that's how fast it charges. So this is a really good set bonus. I don't currently use it. It is a dropped set, so you cannot dictate which pieces it really goes on. It's a set amount of pieces, and you have to use those pieces. Which is the main reason I don't use it, but it is really, really good. The other set, or the next set rather, is Twilight's Embrace. I'm using that here on my 2 daggers and my belt. This is a flat 10% increase to healing received. Works with Strife and Blood Craze, all those abilities. You have Magnus's Gift. This set bonus gives you a 5% chance to negate the cost of a spell, which means if I use Shadow Cloak or Veiled Strike or something that costs magicka, I have a 5% chance for those abilities to cost nothing. So I could use Shadow Cloak, which is pretty costly. I think it's like 300 something magicka. And if that procs, then I don't use any of that magicka to cast that spell, which is pretty awesome. There's Night Mother's Gaze, 20% armor pin on crit, so this reduces your target's armor by 20% when you crit. I'm pretty sure this doesn't stack with itself, meaning, if you crit twice in a row, it's not going to, increase or reduce their armor by 40%. It's still just going to be 20%. So that's really good. And then lastly is the Warlock, which I think I have shown in every single one of my videos. This set is just great, and it's really good for this build for getting away because of that, ridiculous magic gain that you're going to get every minute when you fall below 33% magicka. It's really great for Shadow Cloak spam when you're trying to get away from people. And that is pretty much it for the set bonuses. Now for the jewelry, another really good option here is spell damage, because this build is magicka based and its main damaging component is Veiled Strike, which scales off of magicka. this spell damage actually gives you, actually increases the damage of that ability by a ton. So where I got these rings is, this is going to be different depending on your faction, but because I'm Aldemir Dominion, my VR10 zone, the last zone in the game for me, is Bangkarai. Now, where I got these rings is in the main city in Bangkarai, which is Evermore. I went to the Mages Guild, and there's a vendor in the Mages Guild that will sell you blue quality VR10 jewelry. So that's where I went to buy this ring, and then I had a enchanter get me a glyph that adds the spell damage. And I actually have 2 of these. And that's my flame resistance ring, which I can go over. I don't really use this in PvP. This is more of a PvE thing. Because I'm a vampire, I really need this, but I don't think you need it that much from a PvP perspective. But the spell damage ring, I have 2 of these, and occasionally I will get rid of my Warlock set just for that 9 spell damage increase, as well as, as you can see, it gives me almost 20 magicka basically. But let's show you an example here of what I'm talking about. So this deals 393 magic damage on the tooltip. Now, obviously the tooltip isn't, perfectly accurate all the time, but it's a good ballpark. So to give you an idea of the relative increase, now obviously when you're talking about critting, when you have a substantial increase on just the tooltip damage, which is based off of a non-crit scenario, then you talk about crits, it's an even bigger leap in damage. So let's throw that on there, and now let's go look at the tooltip. 412. So that is pretty substantial. I get upwards of 700 to 800 damage crits in PvP with this ability. So that's pretty big. I'm also using the Shadow Mundus Stone to increase the damage of my critical strikes to further stack with that. Go ahead and put the Warlock ring back on. So that's basically a rundown of what jewelry I would use if you're not using the Warlock set. If you're not using the Warlock set at all, try to find you, and I don't think that the Mages Guild vendor in Bangkarai, the one I went to, has a Magicka traded blue VR10 item for the neck piece, which means down here where it says Arcane, that's the trait. Now, I don't think they have one that has an Arcane trait that increases Magicka. I think the only neck pieces they have increase health or stamina, which I don't really want to give up 56 Magicka just to get some more spell damage, because the spell damage still would be an increase, but I'm still kind of counteracting myself there by getting rid of Magicka, for something else. But if you can get, a high-end VR10, Magicka traded ring, or neck piece rather, and then enchant that with spell damage, and then you can run, triple spell damage across the board on your rings, that's a ton of damage. So, obviously that's if you're not using a jewelry set bonus like Warlock or Magicka Furnace or something like that. But this is basically the setup. The daggers here, I am not using the surprise attack morph of Veiled Strike. Instead, I'm using concealed weapon morph, and I'll go over that shortly. But as you can see here, because of that, I have made the choice to use reduce armor glyphs, which I'm not even positive stack, and I imagine they probably don't. So having 2 of these is kind of pointless, I would imagine. I haven't tested it myself though, but that was just something I grabbed in the meantime. But because I'm not using that, getting that 40% armor pen from my Veiled Strike, I put that here on my weapon to give me a little more, damage. So that is pretty much it for the gear, guys. I'm now going to go into the skills. So first up is the dual wield bar. What I have here is Strife, Swallow Soul, Siphoning Strikes, Leeching Strikes, Shadow Cloak, Dark Cloak, Twin Slashes, Blood Craze, and Veiled Strike, Concealed Weapon. And the ultimate is Deathstroke, Soul Harvest. Now, obviously, you want to keep this up, keep Strife up 100% of the time when you're in an actual fight. That's you not 3-shotting someone. Keep that up. Keep your survivability up as much as possible. Leeching, I still like this more for PvP, so much more than siphoning attacks. That health return on light attacks is pretty substantial when you stack it with Blood Craze and Strife. This is a big one. So a lot of people think that the Shadowy Disguise, which is the crit morph for Shadow Cloak, is the go-to morph. Oh, well, it's a 100% chance to crit, I should take that. But that is absolutely not the case. This is by far the best morph choice for Shadow Cloak. I don't think it's working properly even now. It says it's supposed to remove 4 damage over time effects. I think it only removes 1. Even with it only removing 1, it is extremely useful. A lot of people out there like to do Venom Arrow spam, and that's a pretty substantial dot on you. You know, any DK that you're fighting, they're throwing Burning up on you 24/7. This removes that completely. So as soon as you hit this, those dots are gone. It just gets them right off of you. And not even just for players, but for Siege. You know, if you've ever got hit by Burning Oil, the initial hit's not even the scary part. It's the freaking 3-tick dot that comes after that hits you for half your health each one. This removes that. So, you know, if you get hit by Burning Oil or a Treb or, you know, whatever, just pop Shadow Cloak and then bam, that dot is gone. So this is definitely the best morph. You know, you don't need that 70% crit, but you need more survivability. And this is the go-to morph for that. Blood Craze, definitely, you know, I love this ability. It's really strong damage and it's spammable. It costs nothing. And it's a decent heal as well. And then finally, Concealed Weapon for my actives. What Concealed Weapon morph does for Veiled Strike is it passively increases the stealthed movement speed by 25% while slotted. Now, as many of you know, I'm also a vampire, so I'm getting a stealth speed increase from Vampire as well. So if you want to see what combining these two things can do, this is it. This is me moving in stealth. I'm essentially sprinting while I'm stealthed. I think my sprint speed is only slightly faster than when I'm like fully hidden stealthed. And not only does this work for stealth, but it also works for Shadow Cloak. So as you can see, I'm moving at this speed, and then I can pop Shadow Cloak, and I'm moving at the exact same speed. Now, what I use this for is obviously mobility on the battlefield and my main escape mechanic. Now, Sorks are known to be the only real class with the true escape, and that's Bolt Escape, and that is just not true. Shadow Cloak can be countered by Mage Light, sure. It does have counters, and you have to be really good. You know, you have to think tactically, and you have to be smart if you want to get away with this ability. But having Concealed Weapon and being a vampire gives you a lot more room to work with when you're trying to get away with Shadow Cloak. You know, obviously you can't sprint, you know, in Shadow Cloak. If I try to sprint, it removes that. Which makes it a really, you know, not so impressive escape mechanic because of that. You know, when a Sork can just bolt escape across the map in 3 clicks and they're gone, you know, we have to sit there and walk at a snail's pace to escape from someone. But if you use this intelligently, it is still extremely strong. You know, things like they see you running this way to get away, cut back into them and Shadow Cloak through them, things like that. If you know they're not running Mage Light. If they're running Mage Light, a lot of the times what I like to do is I will Magnum Shot them and then dodge roll back, switch, and then that creates enough distance for Mage Light not for me not to be in range of Mage Light. And that's how I will get away from someone, you know, in a 1v1 situation. If I you know, need to get out of there, or if I see they got a Zerg coming behind them, and I'm not trying to stay and fight that, that's what I'll do. So obviously you're missing out on a decent amount of damage by not having the 40% armor pen, but the stealth movement speed increase, you know, grants you massive utility. It's just really, really good for getting away, for engaging. All of that, you know, all of those things. So that is pretty much my dual wield bar. Now let's go into the bow bar. Well, I guess I'll address the ultimate here real quick. A lot of people, you know, and I can understand why they would want to use that from a tooltip perspective. You know, a lot of people like to use the incapacitating strike morph of Deathstroke. They basically want that stun that goes off on targets that are have more health than them, and I can understand that from a PvP perspective. That seems really good. However, I don't know if that morph is bugged or if this morph is bugged, and not working as intended. But what the basic Deathstroke and the Soul Harvest morph do for the ultimate is they allow them to be used as a stealth attack. Now this is huge. So I'm sure it'll probably end up being nerfed because I'm putting it on the internet, just like they nerfed Lotus Fan. But I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there for you guys, so you guys know this causes Nightblades to be extremely strong. And when this thing is fully charged, I can hit people for upwards of 2,500 damage from a stealth attack with Soul Harvest. That's right off the bat. I've outright killed a lot of people with just one ability, just instantly. And not only that, but if you hit someone for 2,500 damage right off the bat, they're not going to be able to recover from that. There are very few people in this game and very few classes that can recover from that kind of damage. They're still, they're going to be stunned as well. It's a stealth attack, so they're going to get hit hard with that initial stun, and their health bar is just going to drop, and then you're going to throw in 2 more Veiled Strikes after that to finish them off if they somehow manage to survive the initial hit. But it's huge damage. And ideally you don't want to be just using your ultimate whenever it's up. You really want to be tactical with it, and this allows it to charge up more and more. And when you're out there ganking and you see some like beefy DK or Templar or something, and you want to you see them out there and you want to open on them, and that they're going to be a tough opponent, you should have your Soul Harvest saved up for that, and then you open from stealth with that, and you hit them super hard and kill them before they ever even realize what happened. And that's how you want to use Soul Harvest. Also, if you're using it in conjunction with the Of Shadows set, you're getting a 15% max health heal every time you do use it, and that might make it for you. That might make you want to turn that into a more spammable ability, which is fine if you're using it with that set bonus. That's a huge heal. So by all means, use it every time it's up if you need it. But I tend to kind of save mine to use it when I can get a really solid stealth attack off on someone. But that's pretty much my dual wield bar. So now let's go into the bow bar. Again, Strife, Swallow Soul. It's just a great heal. It's our best heal as a class. And you want to keep this up 24/7. It also does decent damage because you're going to be Magicka based here. So that it's great to have that. And then we have Leeching Strikes again. This is so I don't have to toggle it off when I switch. Then we have Elusive Mist. Again, I use this a lot to get around as well as to escape. But to get around, a lot of the times, if you're out ganking, you're going to be deep in enemy territory, and the last thing you want to do is be on a horse, be like, hey, come hit me, knock me off the horse, I'm stunned for 6 seconds, go ahead and kill me while I can't move. That's the last thing you want. So if I need to get somewhere quickly, but I am in a place where I don't really want to be on my horse, then I'll use this, as well as use this to escape, or just premeditative or premeditated damage reduction. If I see someone's about to hit me with a huge hit, I'll just pop Elusive Mist, negate that hit, and then, as many of you have probably figured out by now, you can cancel Elusive Mist by going into any menu in the game. So, if I'm in here and I hit L, open a menu, or if I'm in Elusive Mist, I hit B to open the bags, that's going to cancel that as well. And that's kind of how I do it, is if I see someone's going to hit me hard, then I'll pop it, I'll let them hit me, and then I'll immediately press B twice to cancel it and continue fighting them. So it's great for that. Magnum Shot, one of my favorites, as many of you know. Great distance creator. Even if they're CC immune, it's still knocking you back, so it's still creating distance. Really strong against really powerful melee melee classes like Dragon Knights and Templars, and even Nightblades if they're using a similar build against you, but they're trying to use their Veiled Strikes. You can whip out your bow and counter them basically by going full ranged. And then lastly here we have Venom Arrow, which is, as many of you know, the ever overpowered Venom Arrow. People love to spam this ability, and rightfully so. It is really strong. It does pretty decent damage. The dot is nice, and it's a ranged interrupt. So absolutely destroys sorcerers trying to cast, their little crystal fragments. Just destroys them, unless they're getting an instant proc. But a lot of smart sorcerers will only use crystal fragments on an instant proc or as a stealth opener or something like that. But still a very strong ability. And then lastly, for the ultimate, we have Devouring Swarm. I don't cheese this. I don't get it down to 4 ultimate cost and go around and just spam it like, a lot of the DKs and sorcerers are doing right now. I just don't really see the need to do that. So I just don't. But what I use this for is if, it's kind of an oh shit button. If I'm fighting someone in a 1v1 or I'm doing a 2v1 and I need a heal, then I'll pop this. Or if I'm doing a 1v1 and all of a sudden a bunch of dudes jump me, then provided I have the ultimate, I will pop this to kind of, sustain myself. And I've pulled off several 3v1s using this ability because it does a ton of damage as well as, healing me for a ton. So it's my go-to, kind of I really need help here button. And like I said, I use my ultimates tactically, so I'm not just popping Soul Harvest every time it's up. So a lot of the times I actually do have enough ultimate to use this. And that's pretty much what I do with that. So I guess I can go over a few more basic tactics, on how to utilize this, because I'm not going to have a demonstration portion where I go around and kill people. That would make the video extremely long. So instead, I'm going to try to upload a video later that is basically an example of me just going out ganking people, so you guys can kind of see how I utilize these things. But for now, I guess I can just kind of go over some basic strategies on how you want to utilize these bars. One big thing is leeching strikes. So ideally, you do not want to have this ability on 24/7. You really want to keep it toggled off basically when you're roaming looking for someone. Because what you would like to do is, if you see someone, regardless of whether you're opening with the Deathstroke opener or a Veiled Strike opener, odds are, most people out there, you're gonna kill them in your opener. You're gonna open with Veiled Strike, or you're gonna open with Deathstroke. You're immediately gonna apply Blood Craze, and you're gonna start spamming your Veiled Strike light attack combo. And while they're in the stealth attack stun, and what this allows you to do is gives you even more leeway to kill someone in that opener, because they're you're not suffering from a 22% damage reduction basically. And if for whatever reason you do not kill your target in your opener, then you want to toggle on leeching strikes. And prepare to kind of turtle up, so to speak. Get your strife up, get your blood craze up, and get your leeching strikes on, and prepare for a real fight. Because a lot of the classes that do survive your opener are, Templars and DKs. DKs have their Dragon's Blood, and Templars have, I think it's called Breath of Life, and they're basically, huge instant cast heals that, heal for a ton of health. So, that's a lot of the time what happens is, if you don't kill a DK or a Templar in that opener, as soon as they come out of that stun, they're just going to heal to full really quick, and then you got a full-fledged fight on your hands, and you got to take their bar from 100% to 0 all over again. So, you want to, get on that leeching strikes to, manage your resources, keep your magicka and stamina up, as well as, give you a decent heal that stacks with Blood Craze and Strife. So, that's basically how you want to use that. As you probably know by now, Dark Cloak synergizes well with Veiled Strike, because if you use Veiled Strike from the Dark Cloak invisibility buff, you stun a target. Now, if it's a good player that you're battling, they are going to block as soon as they see you Shadow Cloak, because they know that Veiled Strike is coming and they do not want to get stunned. So that's what they're going to do. Now, a lot of people aren't good players, so you're going to absolutely decimate people by doing that. Not only are you getting massive buffs from Dark Cloak, I mean, we're talking, 30% stamina regeneration, 1750 magic and spell resistance. You're removing DOTs. Shadow Cloak is just such an amazing ability. you're getting all that from that. So you do want to cycle that in regardless, every now and then, regardless of whether you're fighting a good opponent and they're going to block it or not. You still want to use it because you're getting massive buffs from it. So you want to get that out there. And anybody that doesn't know what's going on, you're just going to stun them over and over every time you Shadow Cloak Veiled Strike, and they're just going to get decimated. So that's make sure you're using that properly. Blood Craze, keep it up as much as possible. There's times when you can spam this, but generally you're just going to be spamming your concealed weapon, or your surprise attack, whatever more if you end up choosing for this. That's going to be your spam ability. Again, use this as a stealth opener, extremely powerful. I think that's about it though for the basic strategy on how to use these setups. Again, I will try to upload another video of me going around in small group or solo play, utilizing this build so people can see how it's done. Basic summary though: 49 into health for attributes, gear 5 medium, 2 light. I'm not going to go over the set bonuses again, but you guys know what they are and they're there. This is a full Magicka based build, so as you can see, every piece has Magicka. I'm even running Magicka food, Magicka stamina food, invigorated honey pudding, VR5 increases max Magicka and stamina by 312. What this does is it's going to give me a nice boost on my Blood Craze as well as my Magnum Shot and my Venom Arrow to damage. Even though my main damage output is still Veiled Strike, it's going to give me a decent extra amount of stamina, which stacks well with me being red guard, so I can dodge and block a lot, as well as get some decent damage out of my stamina-based abilities. That is the gear. Again, it is bow, dual wield, dual daggers for the twin blade and blunt passive. That has been confirmed to work. So I totally forgot about this as I was doing this video, but this passive works now. So it just doesn't update on the character pane. You are still getting the 5% critical strike chance from each dagger. It just doesn't update on the character pane. They have fixed this in the Craglorn patch to where it will show up on your character pane. Currently it doesn't, but it does still work. So you definitely want to go with the 10% additional crit chance. Here I actually have 34% chance to crit instead of 24, which is a significant difference, and quite strong. So definitely go with the dual daggers. Again, the bow's random. I would like to get it's called the White Bow of Alinor. It's a rare drop, T2 dungeons, really strong, but this is what I'm using for now. Yeah, so that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, hit me up on Tamriel Foundry if you have any questions. That about wraps it up for this one. See you next time.